Listen to this clip of a TED Talk on time management.
When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things. One is that I'm always on time, and I'm not. I have 4 small children, and I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness, but sometimes it's just not their fault.
Did you understand everything? You've probably watched some TED Talks before, but what if I told you that you were leaving some learning on the table, or in other words, weren't taking full advantage of it? The good news is that I'm here to help you get that learning back through active listening. Listen again and try to fill in the blanks.
When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things.
When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things. To find out is a super common phrasal verb that means to discover a fact or a piece of information. For example, she will find out about the sale when she reads the newspaper. Or, I found out yesterday that they are getting divorced. Find out is a tricky little phrasal verb since there are 3 main ways you can use it. If you want to find out information specifically about a person, a time, a place, etc., you would use a WH question after the phrasal verb. For example, go find out who did it, or go find out where they went. If we are finding out information about something to do with a verb, we optionally use the word that plus the verb. For example, she found out that her boyfriend cooks, or she found out her boyfriend cooks. Finally, if you're simply finding out about a noun, then you would use the word about. I just found out about the free tacos. Tacos. By the way, you probably noticed by now, but find is an irregular verb. So if you're talking about the past, you say found. Do you remember which version of find out the speaker used in the TED Talk? When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things. Here we're using the verb option because we're talking about how she writes. Of course, this time she did not use the optional that. Let's keep going.
One is that I'm always on time, and I'm not. I have 4 small children, and I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness, but sometimes it's just not their fault.
One is that I'm always on time, and I'm not. I have 4 small children, and I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness. But sometimes it's just not their fault. Let's look at this one piece at a time. The speaker does a good job of speaking clearly overall. Even still, instead of hearing every word clearly, you might have heard something like this. If English speakers pronounced every word fully, then the sentence would sound like, one is that I'm always on time and I'm not. Sounds pretty weird, right? If you think that English speakers speak fast, it turns out that a lot of what you think is speed is actually just connected speech. In other words, we tend to smash some words together. Connected speech is a huge topic with a lot of pieces that we'll continue to explore in different videos on this channel. For now, there are 2 pieces at work in this sentence: linking and weak forms. Linking is one of the most common ways that English speakers connect words. It happens in 2 ways. One is when one word ends with a consonant sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound. The second is when one word ends with a vowel sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound. We'll focus on the consonant and vowel version first. In this situation, when one word ends with a consonant and the next word begins with a vowel, the ending consonant joins together with the starting vowel. It's not get out, it's get out. Get out. Keep in mind that this is for consonant and vowel sounds, not spelling. Sometimes words that are spelled with a vowel like have actually end with a consonant sound. Have. It's not have a look, it's have a look. In our original sentence, we see that and I'm, which becomes that I'm. We also have I'm and always, which becomes I'm always. Next is always and on, which becomes always on.
Note that the S at the end of always is pronounced like a Z. Always, not always, but always. We'll explore the reasons why in a different video. And finally, and I'm, which becomes and I'm. So far, our newly connected sentence sounds like this. One is that I'm always on time, and I'm not. Sounds a lot better, but still a little bit weird. And that's where weak forms will come in to finish the job. In English, a lot of words like and, can, that, have, or to have two ways of pronouncing them, one strong and one weak. And becomes n, like in salt and pepper. Can becomes can, like I can do it. Can, I can do it. That becomes that, like I think that she did it. That, not that, but that she did it. Have becomes av or v, like I've been there. And finally, to becomes t, as in I'm happy to meet you. T. We usually only use the strong version when we pronounce these words by themselves or when we want to emphasize them. For example, you ate the cookies and the brownies? Since these types of words are mostly helpers like articles, prepositions, or conjunctions, it's more common to use the weak form. In fact, almost every sentence you hear an English speaker say will have a few weak forms. If you start to use them more, you'll sound more native too. Looking once more at our sentence, we see we've got the word that at the beginning and towards the end. Both of these are pronounced using the weak forms because we're not trying to emphasize them. They also, of course, are part of the linking we looked at earlier. Instead of one is that I'm, it's that I'm. And instead of and I'm, it's an I'm. Putting it all together, one is that I'm always on time and I'm not. One is that I'm always on time and I'm not. Let's try a few sentences of our own. There's one consonant vowel link and one weak form in this sentence. Can you find them? Try to say it out loud. The link is between always and eat. Always eat. Always eat. Since your is just a helper, a possessive pronoun, and we're not emphasizing it, we'd use the weak form, your, and not your. Always eat your vegetables. Always eat your vegetables. By the way, vegetables has a silent E in between the G and the T. It's not vegetables, it's vegetables. Vegetables. How about this one? First, there's a link between the k of look and the a of at. Of course, with at just being a preposition pointing the verb at the object, we don't stress it, and so we use a weak form. It's not at, it's et. Look at him. Et. Look at him. One more. The first link is between doing and anything. Doing anything. The second is between anything and around. Anything around. Anything around. Thing around. And the last is between 5 and o'clock. Be careful, because this is an example where the word 5 is spelled with a vowel, but it actually has a consonant sound at the end. 5, v. 5 o'clock. There's also just one weak form here, you, which becomes ya. Are you doing anything around 5 o'clock? Are you doing anything around 5 o'clock? Let's listen to the second sentence one more time. See if you can hear the highlighted linking and weak forms.
I have 4 small children, and I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness, but sometimes it's just not their fault.
From my perspective, there's 2 consonant vowel links between children and, children in, as well as between sometimes and its, sometimes its. You can also see there were a few weak forms. And became in, children in. To became to blame. For became for. I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness. But became but. But sometimes it's just not their fault. What about this part? I'm sure you've seen the contraction I've, but does it fit here? The answer is no, it doesn't. We only make the contraction I've when have is an auxiliary verb, such as I have had enough food. In other words, the have has to be helping another verb. In this case, however, the speaker says, I have 4 small children, which makes have the main verb, and so we can't use I've.
Whenever you have a hard time understanding native English speakers, there's a good chance it's because of connected speech. There are a few ways to get better at understanding it. My personal favorites are dictations and reading out loud. Dictations are similar to what we did in the video today, where you're either filling in the blanks or writing down everything that you hear a native speaker say in a video. If you're watching a video that has subtitles or a transcript, you can then compare what you wrote to the transcript to check your answers. Reading out loud, on the other hand, works great if you've got an audiobook, so you can not only read the text, but also hear a native speaker read it. What I like to do is listen to a native speaker read it for a few seconds in an audiobook, push pause, and then try to read the same sentence out loud, imitating the same sounds that the native speaker said. We'll explore these techniques in more detail in a future video. For now, if you liked this one, be sure to click subscribe and head over to deliberatenglish.com to learn more about how to speak fluent English and understand native speakers. See you soon.